Hello and welcome to another episode of the Healing with Coherence podcast series, founded by Radiant Life Technologies. My name is Michael and I'm your host. This is episode 8 of the series delving into the profound transformation of healing science, medicine and technology happening in the world today. You can find us on all major social media networks and platforms. And if you are not yet part of the community, hit subscribe button right now so that you don't miss any of the following episodes. And my guest today is Dr. Eric Goodman. He's a chiropractor, founder and creator of Foundation Training, a strengthening and movement program designed to help people get out of back pain. And we'll be talking with Eric about pain and lifestyle. We'll look into what exactly is Foundation Training and how it was born. We'll dive into the connection between lifestyle and movement patterns leading to degeneration of the human body. And we'll look into healing as a phenomenon that is undergoing a huge transformation today. Hello, Eric. Welcome to Healing with Coherence.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation and the nice introduction.
I'm very happy to have you here, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. Eric, because pain is obviously the pinnacle of your work, and it is in the very center of how Foundation Training was founded. I wanted to start with asking you, what is your outlook on pain? What is pain's meaning in life? What is actually pain as such in your eyes?
We're jumping right into the deep end. Okay. So my outlook on pain has become very optimistic, because I think most people, myself included, have a handful of mechanisms in which they can improve upon their pain, not just physical movement, not just nutritional, not just environmental, not just hormonal, not just stress management. So we have many, many different staircases we can walk up in our attempts to mitigate pain of different types. That's the optimistic side. Mm-hmm. The pessimistic side is that I believe our environment is getting harder to tolerate from a pain and sensitivity standpoint. I deal mostly, almost entirely, in physical chronic pain. Foundation Training is a system that helps physical chronic pain. It gets harder and harder to mitigate when the environment we're in gets more toxic to our bodies. So if you're not able to sleep well, you're going to experience more pain. If you're not able to eat naturally and you're kind of not absorbing what you need to, you're going to experience more sensitivities, more pain. So that's kind of my cynical thought of it, is as an individual, I'm so optimistic we can all get ourselves out of pain. Societally, I believe we're starting to harm ourselves in ways that we're almost a little too cool to consider. Like spraying environmental toxins might be terrible for genetic expression and for sensitivity of the nervous system, for quality of the digestive system, for function of the organs and the brain. The chemical sensitivities and environmental sensitivities are very real. I've learned that more and more in dealing with my own life and in dealing with a lot of patients, many chronic patients over the years. Pain is meant to be tolerated, though. So this is, you asked, what's the meaning of it? In my personal experience, every significant, memorable lesson and knowledge that I've really learned in my adult life has kind of come through painful experiences that in hindsight were growth and character development experiences, including my own spine, its degeneration, its extraordinary pain, becoming something I understood, learned not to live with, but learned to understand and integrate better movement and better awareness of that into my lifestyle so that I wasn't always in pain. So it's this constant teacher. Each of these moments of pain has been a teacher. So pain can be an amazing, amazing, amazing teacher and connector in life. Everybody has something, and we're all looking for connection. And very often we can start with relatability of this hurts, that hurts, but sort of in the sense of here's what I do to help it, not, oh, this hurts and that hurts. But, hey, I got better this way. I got better that way. Hey, have you tried that thing? Have you looked at what you're eating? Have you looked at the air quality? Have you looked at these different things? So pain is this deep, completely accidental teacher that all of us need in our lives. Because I've met a lot of people who don't sense much. They don't have chronic pain of sorts. They don't have, but I think that sensitivity is also sort of a sign. Pain is sort of a sign of being alive, being aware, noticing things, paying attention.
Yeah. Eric, that's very interesting what you're saying, because what I've been thinking when I'm listening to, I have a friend of mine who I actually interviewed for my athletic longevity podcast. And he's suffering of multiple sclerosis. And he's been diagnosed already for 7 or 8 years. And he's very exceptional in the sense of he's actually dealing with that disease without the usual medication. And what he actually shared with me is that he takes the multiple sclerosis, the disease, as an advisor in his life. So he's taking the disease as the best advisor he could have for his life. And when we published the episode with him, a lot of people who are suffering of the same disease, which is of course very serious disease, in the general perception of people, they were not able to accept what he was saying. Some of them were actually accusing him of lying and so on. So I'm wondering, because it is when we are standing here, the both of us, and we are both in a good shape now. I don't feel any pain. I don't think you are feeling any strong pain right now yourself as well. So it is simple to accept that, the concept of pain being an advisor. But I'm wondering, and you should have, I'm sure you have the experience with that, because you are a chiropractor and you're working with people who are in pain. How do you advise them actually to change their focus, to shift the focus when they are in really huge pain? How they are able actually, and how you can lead them to that point of accepting that pain is for their good, that pain is an advisor or consult, or somebody that actually can advise them for life. It's here to help them. I think for some people it could be really, really difficult to accept that. What would be your approach in that case?
I'm actually in significant pain right now, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's not my back. My back I have really learned to control, although sometimes my back does give me not significant pain anymore, but a little discomfort to the point where I'm a little nervous it's going to cross over to significant pain. But I have a protocol for that. I can do foundation training. I literally developed the work for that sensation. So I can strengthen it and I can fix it. But I'm going through other things in my life right now as a male, as a human being, as a family man, as a business owner, that are very, very challenging to contend with. And you're helping me right now very much, because I'm able to focus 100% of what I'm going through on helping people and sharing stuff with them. So I don't ever want to give the illusion to people that pain is visible. It's not. It's not a look. I'm a very fit, very strong person. I've built a business. I've invented an exercise protocol that I'm extremely proud of. But there are still life moments, because life occurs to every one of us. And multiple sclerosis, I mean, could you imagine the demyelination of your neurons? I'm thinking about what that person's going through. This is why I'm good at what I do, because I feel it sucks what that person's going through. What's even worse, though, is that other people going through pain who experience it in their way are so angry with what they're going through that they point at somebody who's trying to give them advice and they say, "You're lying." Like, that hurts worse than multiple sclerosis to that human being. Our society's got to understand we're all individuals. And even when you're not in pain, you're going through something as an individual, or you're surrounded by people that are going through something as individuals. I've been incredibly fortunate in my life to have turned my problems into successes. Something I'm in the process of right now in other ways. But that never comes without a very significant cost. They say you sacrifice for what you love. Well, caregivers and doctors and teachers, and you want your info, your advice to get out there and to be absorbed. So that person sharing their multiple sclerosis story is trying to heal themselves. And part of that is sharing their story. So I hope if people that are listening to me on this episode listen to that episode of yours again and just try to, even if it's only 2 or 3 of them, flip your head a little bit. That person's trying to help you. And I don't think there's really many people out there that are faking autoimmune disorders. And if they are, that's pretty sociopathic.
Like, yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, they were accusing him of lying that he's not taking any medication. Which, and by the way, there were other people, a few of them, who commented under some of the posts that I had on social media who were saying, I'm in the same situation. I've been having multiple sclerosis for 2-3 years. I have not been using any medication. I've been using only alternative, approaches, herbs or anything else. But there were a couple of them. Otherwise, a lot of people actually, they were accusing him of, this is not true. There is no way.
Yeah. I've never met that person, but I will only give my personal experience because what I work with is chronic pain. And very often chronic pain is a symptom involved in pretty significant autoimmune disorders of varying stages. I've worked with so many autoimmune cases over my 50s, 2008 to now, 16-year career. Actually, I graduated in April of 2008 as a chiropractor, and I never went into chiropractic practice. I was already on to foundation training. My world is working in biomechanics, helping people manage symptoms through movement, through breath, through strength. So I was always doing that all along. The amount of autoimmune disorders that do not take medication manage their life through nutrition, through supplements. So they're taking medicine in the form of maybe supplemental this, supplemental that, but really what they're doing is they're minimizing things that trigger symptoms. Most of those are certain foods. Most of those are alcohol. Most of those are other prescription drugs that impact how organs function. There are countless examples of people with every disease out there that manage it better than medication alone can manage it. So this is one thing I'll never be cynical about. You asked me my overall thoughts on pain. I always think you can get better until you can't. But that place is so much further along than most people think. It's like the person that's running a marathon and the first time they get tired, they think they're tired. It's like, no, this is the first message. Actually, if you keep running a little bit, you're going to get less tired. And then all of a sudden you're going to have this kind of wave. Have I ever run a marathon? No. I've worked with countless people that run marathons better than most, and they explain the process to me. Pain is a marathon. Autoimmune disorder, cancers, losing a limb, losing a loved one, having mental health disorders, having digestive disorders, having neurological disorders. Those are marathons. Those are discrepancies that must be managed through the long haul. So the sooner people realize, A, the less you can be dependent on medication, the better. B, medications most often mimic what the body should be able to do for itself. And in the case of multiple sclerosis, demyelination of neurons, of pathways, there are substances and things that help insulate nerve pathways. I mean, from the most fundamental basics, if you're not looking at B vitamins just for a little bit of nerve health, you're missing some of the most important things. And that's not what medical systems typically look at. Medical systems reduce to the symptom level and they manage that symptom. Whereas the individual going through those symptoms needs to look at their body like an environment. And they have to feed the ecosystem. and they have to move the environment, and they have to make sure that they're just not in this constant storm-like environment, which is managed through minimizing sugars, walking instead of running for a lot of people, or walking instead of sitting for a lot of people. Health kind of meets in the middle. Over intense and overworked is just as bad in a lot of people as under intense and underworked. And in between are the long walks and just being out in nature instead of in a computer inside, and these basic things that are just better than not doing anything. So folks that are not already doing that with either chronic pain or with autoimmune disorders are missing the opportunity that is presented to them, which is watch how, and this is, I would imagine, what this person was saying about their advisor, is that their life is probably better because they're managing their entire health as a result of triggering symptoms in multiple sclerosis. And they are starting to understand the triggers. So the advice is not to do those things, not to have those things, not to allow those things around them so that they're not triggered. And as a result, their whole lifestyle has probably improved in quality.
Mm-hmm. I really like what you said about the marathon. I guess that this is partially the answer of my question of how I would approach a person with a chronic pain and with a strong chronic pain. First of all, make them understand that pain and chronic pain is a marathon, or healing out of that pain is a marathon. There is nothing which is like a silver bullet solution. Or if we want to go with that way of the silver bullet solution, that's not a permanent solution. That's just a temporary solution. Here, I also see the role of medication in a way, because I can see definitely when there is an acute chronic pain, when there is an attack, for example, in the multiple sclerosis, a pain suppressant can definitely help manage a situation. But this is not the solution, the long-term solution. Because what you said about the triggers, I think that's exactly the way of taking the pain as an advisor or as a teacher. When you start actually looking into the triggers, and when you are not feeling the pain, you cannot look into the triggers, obviously, because you're not feeling that pain. And what I picked up from what you were saying was exactly as well about the actually taking as well responsibility, and that's what I wanted to talk further on in the in our interview or in our discussion about the self-sufficiency and taking responsibility, being responsible for your own health, and not just laying on the bed and waiting for someone to come and to heal you, because it wouldn't work like that.
But then you're in a system. You mentioned medication is wonderful for acute symptoms. And sometimes there are chronic things. There's absolutely examples and exceptions to the rule that I'm about to state. But in general, for acute, you have to sort of medicate. Medication is good for acute phases of things, be it pain, episodes, whatever, illness, whatever. Medication. They happen for a reason. But once you get chronic, like when you're in that chronic phase, it's up to you have to modify. It's modification. So acute is medication. Chronic is modification. You have to modify your lifestyle. You have to modify your diet. You have to modify relationships. You have to modify your existence a little bit to improve what got you there. That's what you like. If it's chronic, you very likely got yourself there. Even in gene expression, even in congenital stuff, there are examples of people in that same family with those same genes that don't express the gene. Due to lifestyle, due to scenarios, due to circumstance. Very often, again, there's always exceptions to the rule, but most often, there's always examples like that. Oh, this person has it, this person doesn't. Okay, interesting. They've literally done studies on twins with different lifestyles who have completely different expressions throughout their lifestyle. So, modification when it's chronic, medication when it's acute, when it's needed in that acute phase. Meaning, it hurts right now. I don't know what this is. What's going on? Help me. Probably medication.
Absolutely. Eric, so actually, foundation training, if I understood well, was based on your own healing journey. You were
Yes.
healing from your own back pain problem.
Yes.
What was that? I mean, how it happened? What was your healing journey?
So this all started around 1920 for me. Not like 19 years old, 20 years old, 21 years old. I was in college. I was a strong guy. I'm pretty big. I'm well over 200 pounds. I'm pretty muscular, especially back in college. And I started to injure my back on a pretty regular basis. At first, not so bad. I remember actually the first time I really felt it twinge, I was on sort of a road bike ride. I was trying to get into riding, and I was a big guy trying to ride, so my back was really flexed. That didn't hurt me, but I didn't realize that the weightlifting I was doing wasn't really helping my spine at that age. The sitting in college wasn't really helping my spine at that age. I had played ice hockey. I had played water polo. I was a weightlifter. I had a lot of back compression.
Mm-hmm.
It just sort of got worse and worse and worse, 21 years old to like 26 years old. It worsened, and I was now in chiropractic school in 2006, 2007. That was when it was the worst. I was 26, 27 years old. I was about to graduate. I was getting adjusted all the time in chiropractic school with pretty significant lower back degeneration, disc herniations, a lot of things like that. I went to an osteopath. They recommended that they got imaging, and the imaging recommended I get surgery. That was 2007. And that's when I very sort of serendipitously started smoking a little bit of cannabis for pain relief, which made me very sensitive to what was happening inside my body and with that pain. And it actually made it much more tolerable to be in the pain that I was in, to the point that I could start working through it. And foundation training was born out of those processes of working through my pain. And I was in chiropractic school about to graduate. I had gotten my personal trainer certification at 18 years old. I was a weightlifter. I was really into the body. I was a total anatomy geek. So I wasn't shooting from the hip. I was coming at this with significant education and a heightened sensitivity and awareness. And it was a really interesting combination for several years, every day. And I'm not kidding in any way, shape, or form, or exaggerating. Several years, every single day, what I would consider going into the lab. Smoke, I would lay, or I would move, or I would walk, or I would whatever. Never music, never other people, just sensation. And it was the coolest thing because I could always get out of the pain. That was the trick. It was like this budding magic trick where I could contract certain muscles. So the biggest was squeezing my thigh muscles together, which I now understand and call pelvic anchoring. It's a huge principle of foundation training, is anchoring the pelvis. At that stage, it was the only thing that really gave me relief from my disc herniations. I started extending my lower back a lot more, even though I was very often taught we're not supposed to extend the spine. We always flex the spine.
Okay.
Turns out for me, I really needed to extend my lower spine really badly and had to keep doing it. Now going on 16 years. I've been doing this every day now for 16 years.
All right.
I've been advancing this process every day for 16 years. I've been teaching it. We have 1,400 instructors around the world now. I've written 3 books on it. My wife wrote a pediatric version book of this. She's a pediatric physical therapist based on the same principles. Personally, I've been advancing this in my own body since 2007. I've been teaching it publicly since 2010, but I was teaching a very basic version that I had only gotten to. And then I started advancing further and further. And it's not like, I'm going to advance because I can think through it. No, it is reacting to my own pain. It is reacting to patients' pain. It's going painstakingly through these kind of reproducible, repeatable movement patterns until it's kind of like, it's like proven to me that it keeps doing the exact same thing. There's no variation. If you do this, this occurs. And you start to just make those correlations over and over and over again. And that's kind of how I relearned anatomy in my own body to a degree. I relearned sort of how muscle integration works. Didn't realize. I kind of learned how muscle integration works, how things support each other. And again, I've now been teaching this my whole life. I'm 43 years old. I've been teaching this since I was 27. I've never stopped. I've only taught more. I only teach more. Every single day, I probably work with somewhere between 3 and 30 to 50 people, sharing this work with them, depending on the setting and scenario. I've gotten to bring this to like major medical conferences. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world, because foundation training started off as this painful, stagnant, claustrophobic. That's the best word I can use for this. I felt like I was stuck in my own back and I couldn't move beyond it. And it was the prioritization of my entire life. And I prioritized it continuously, but now it's become really fun. Now it's I'm never like, oh, my back. Now I'm like, oh, wow, I have this understanding and this skill that I can hand deliver to people. And I can, what took me 16 years to understand, I can teach somebody in a week. Well, they're not going to get better in a week. They're not going to be perfect in a week, but they're going to understand the process, and it can be completely laid out for them now. That's the difference. And, look, as I alluded to, I've had a really challenging handful of days, and the only thing in my life that pulls me out of that is this. I can go surfing and that helps. I can go do some jujitsu and that helps, but nothing lasts except helping people figure their shit out. Same way that I've been able to figure mine out. Amazing.
Eric, I actually read your story on the foundation training webpage, and there was a moment when you were actually considering surgery, if I understood correctly. Or it was recommended. It was recommended.
Yeah, so that was my transition moment. Yeah, I went to an osteopath. I was about to finish chiropractic school. I was 27 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to an osteopath. The osteopath, basically, you have to get a 360-degree fusion. Now, it was recommended. It wasn't mandated. Nobody said, you're going to get this fusion now or your back's going to fall off. It was recommended that I get surgery.
Okay.
Being a chiropractic student, being 27 years old, there was no chance I was getting that surgery. There was zero chance. To be honest, I never, ever, ever considered the surgery.
Okay.
But it was the catalyst, and are you serious? And I got angry, and I got very frustrated, and that was what led me to smoke a little pot, to start doing a little bit of yoga, to start moving around, and then to start really figuring out this process.
I'm asking? Actually, I'm asking because it's that moment of, there would be, of course, the most, like the first-hand solution would be, what is the fastest way, to get out of the pain? Because you've been in a very strong pain. And this would be the mindset of, I want to get rid of the pain, whatever there is a solution for.
Well, but you have to understand, at this stage, I had been in this pain, maybe not hundreds of times, but probably somewhere between 40 and 100 times in my life. I had experienced, and I felt my lower spine flex, and I felt my abdomen tighten, and I felt that antalgic position that happens. And it wasn't like, oh my God, I have to fix this now. That was not even, there was absolutely no consideration of fixing it. This usually takes 2 to 3 weeks. I know in a couple weeks, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to start moving a little bit, but it hurt. And, I'm going to take Advil constantly, which got me through college and got me through chiropractic school. I'm going to, if needed, take a real painkiller, a muscle relaxer, and I'm going to go for it. But typically I wouldn't have needed that. Typically I could tolerate and kind of slowly move through, and it would take 2 to 3 weeks for the episode to go away. So those that want to get out of pain immediately have probably never had chronic pain. Because you start to form a relation. I'm not saying this is a good thing, but you start to form an expected relationship with it. And you sort of know how long it's going to last. Or in a lot of people, you just kind of realize that buzz is never going to go away. and you come to this acceptance, surrender type point. You start living your life around. That's where I got very frustrated.
Okay.
The surgery discussion brought about the idea that I might never get rid of this. That was like probably the scariest moment for me, especially as a chiropractor. I was in a lot of debt and student loans. I was about to graduate. I had really staked my life and my desires and my attention and my everything on becoming a chiropractor. So it was a kind of a personal challenge to deal with that not working for me. And actually, in likelihood at that moment of my life, exacerbating my symptoms as it was hypermobile and I was not stable in my lower back. I was compressed. It wasn't supporting itself. It was resting on itself. It's a bad way. So for people that want to get out of pain immediately, here's the fast track. If it's musculoskeletal, meaning it's a joint pain, a leg pain, a sciatic pain, a plantar fasciitis pain, a neck pain, if it's in you, you have to find muscular tensegrity to support it. And that's not a journey that you should go on by yourself. You should look up foundation training. You should look up Egoscue method. You should look up functional patterns, even though the guy that teaches it's a bit angry. You should look up these methodologies, the GMB system, what's her name? Terry Wall's diet. Do you know the Wall's protocol?
No, I don't know that.
Every patient on the planet with multiple sclerosis or some other chronic sensitivity or demyelination of nerves should follow for at least a little while the Dr. Terry Wall's diet, WAHLS, because she is a doctor that was wheelchair bound due to multiple sclerosis, taking the medications, got herself completely out of it, changed her whole world, and probably now hundreds of thousands of other people's worlds, or at least tens of thousands, because of what she did. And it has nothing to do with medications that she took. It has everything to do with lifestyle, diet, decisions, processes, patterns. So we have a major, major ability to get out of our own way. Very often chronic pain is a message that we're in our own way. I had to learn that message loud and clear. I was like a bull in a glass shop when I was just moving, not really with respect to my own body, just big and strong and just had, I was young and I thought I was going to be an amazing sports doctor because of this drive, but really life's about absorption, not propulsion. You have to be able to absorb well to get through life. And I had not learned to absorb well yet. I was extremely sensitive in a number of directions, including physically. And I've learned now that a little bit of awareness and a little bit of like more focus on the exhale than the inhale in life actually gets you further. And you feel better. And you think more clearly. So slowing down for me a little bit was kind of required, and foundation training has really slowed me down mentally. I'm very mentally aware. I'm verbally, I can speak well. I'm clear, but it has slowed me down to be able to take in what's happening around me and to pay more attention. So that's the pain message. That's the opportunity. That's the symptoms as the advisor that the other person was talking about. That's what, like, you just got to slow down to the point that you can be aware and feel what's happening, and then feel and know your role in what's happening.
Absolutely. Well, I was trying actually to follow that notion of pain being your guide, and that's why I ask about the surgery, and running away of pain because running away of pain might be actually making you missing on life opportunities when you've been guided very gently, or not that gently, through pain, in some direction, in order to get to get fulfilled by life, to follow your calling in life, because you have developed something which makes you feel fulfilled. You've been doing what you've been born to do. For example, you are following your calling, and it is thanks to pain. So that's what I was trying to follow, that notion of pain being that guide.
It's pain being your guide, and not letting things lead you astray because your reaction is incorrect. Your reaction is instead of breathing and moving, and again, autonomy, accountability. What did I do first? Because I shouldn't do that again. Like the more we know about our bodies, the better. If you have an acute disc herniation, should you get treatment? Yes. Should you get imaging? Yes. If you have first time, all of a sudden your fascia and your plantar fasciitis is just burning, should you get it looked at? Of course. Doctors are wonderful. Therapists are wonderful. We should involve them in our own healing of ourselves. We should, it's a group collaboration. Get the diagnosis, look at all the different systems out there, look at all the different tools out there. With YouTube and Google, anybody can learn to heal themselves for free. Just the time that you spend doing it is the cost. And that's the world we live in right now. So we all have to just be a bit more autonomous in saying it's time for me to do X, Y, or Z. I don't want to depend on the doctor for this again. I don't want to depend on the therapist for this again. Actually, in fact, the next time I see the therapist, I want them to see that I'm getting myself better and that I'm really in on this. I'm committed.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. For me, healing is a very personal journey. It is definitely a journey we need to take part in. We need to be responsible for our own healing, starting with having a strong intent on, yes, I want to be healed, and following that intent rather than, doctor, heal me, I'm here for you, and just do something with me, which is a dead end. Eric, what are how would you summarize the main pillars and philosophy of foundation training? What it would be?
Sure. We have two main principles. So decompression of the torso, expanding the entire torso to its fullest volume, longest abdomen, widest latissimus muscles, longest neck, widest clavicles, densest front to back torso. That's decompression. The other opposing principle is anchoring and stabilizing the pelvis from the bottom of the feet to the bottom of the pelvis, using the muscle chains, the groin muscles, the shin muscles, the foot muscles to sort of lift towards the pubic symphysis, which is the center of the pelvis, the center of gravity in the human body. We want that stabilized and not really unstable. In doing that, we have this decompressive force upward and outward, and we have this anchoring force downward and inward to the bottom of the pelvis. That is foundation training. We put those two forces into all different poses. They're all body weight. We have about 27 or 28 completely unique anchoring and decompression poses.
Okay. When there are different concepts coming and living out of the general perception and consciousness when it comes to healing. There has been for some time, this holistic approach to the body. Holistic has been the general term, let's say. Lately, through people like, for example, Dr. Joe Dispenza, who has actually coherent healing approach. This concept of coherence basically has been coming, from the periphery into the center of interest. So I wanted to ask you, what would be your own understanding of coherence, and what would be the coherence? How coherence would be expressed in foundation training? The coherence of the body and coherence as a concept. How would you make the connection there?
That's a great question, and I've not really thought of that. But as I understand coherence, it's the ability to stick together and to support one another. And the idea that I would hit that with is our integration. We are trying to integrate muscle chains in the body, but not in a shortening capacity. We're trying to lengthen them against tension and against each other. like playing tug of war. So the way that I look at the body, the way foundation training looks at the body is from the feet to the pelvis to the back of the skull and everything in between, front, back, center, is participating in this absorption of its own weight, of gravity. The more we can apply an active, collaborative contraction within that chain of muscle, the human body, the whole thing, towards lift instead of rest, the better we are going to feel. The more space we have for our organs, the more space we have for our literal nerve pathways, the more space we have for blood flow, the more space we have for lymphatic flow. The body needs room. We're in a very compressed society, from sitting in cars to looking at phones to the weight of the world on our shoulders. And we're just here. There's so many people that are just in these positions, sitting at desks all day, commuting, whatever it might be. So foundation training's coherence would be the ability of the body to actually get stronger bonds by pulling into expansion than by compressing. And that's sort of like my coherent, my thesis. If I understand coherence as sticking together through coherent bonds, then I want to strengthen those bonds. And in my opinion, they will get stronger by pulling apart than pushing together.
I understand. Perfect. Well, it has to do something you mentioned at the beginning as well, tensegrity. And
Yes.
like the tensegrity, basically, it is based on tensions, right? The correct tensions and the right tensions in the body and connected tensions within the body.
That's as I understand.
Yeah. Perfect. I like that. Eric, what would be your advice to people who are looking into, let's say, I wouldn't say like quick solutions, but like first step solutions towards improving pain connected to posture, because you are saying you shared yourself that you see that we live in a very very limited world. I mean, we are very limited by our environment in our movements, and this leads to a certain lifestyle, a city lifestyle, which actually leads to a lifestyle degradation of the body and pain and so on. What could be the first steps and the easy steps that people, I don't know, who are in everyday city environment do in order to start improving their posture and getting rid of pain?
So that's what foundation training is, in my opinion. We are a immediate solution to those pains that has to be practiced long term. So we have a number of people that get themselves out of pain very, very rapidly. We have a number of people that take a few weeks, take a month. They kind of see small improvements, and then things help to kind of majorly start to improve after a little bit of training and a little bit of help. So my first recommendation is, you can go on YouTube if you want. You can go on our streaming site. You can go find an instructor nearby. You can read our books. Go learn foundation training as a direct response to postural pains and to chronic pains. Go learn foundation training. We have symptom protocols from spondylolisthesis and plantar fasciitis and adhesive capsulitis to disc herniations from the head to the tail. So that's first. Second is pay attention to your breathing patterns. Pay attention to how often you're walking versus how often you're sitting. Pay attention to the position you take into exercise. So if you're sitting at a desk all day and then you go to the gym or you go to a spin class or you go running, pay attention to the posture you're taking into that. Is it the same one you had at the desk and then you're just running on that? If that's the case, learn to make the corrections very quickly and very accurately, and then take that into your run or into your exercise. Those are the best things. You can hydrate. You can use saunas. You can use all sorts of therapeutics. But if you are not able to develop the skill of at least modest movement and pain relief through it, each of those other things is going to have a very low ceiling in which it stops working. Your job as the user is learn to walk well, learn to breathe well, learn to stand well, learn to sit well, learn to bend over, learn to reach things off the ground well, learn to pick things up, learn to pull yourself up and down. You don't have to be able to do 10 to 20 of any of these, but you do have to be able to do one. You have to be able to support your body's weight because that's what your muscles are meant to do.
As you were talking, I was immediately doing that.
That's the way it happens, man.
I know.
It's like a trick.
I know, but
if you spend enough time, you're gonna get real right here. These guys, these are like suspenders.
Okay.
Now, you don't ever want these to be your primary breathing muscles because that's accessory breathing. It's like panic breathing. It's not good. But you want to learn to use the back of your head as a lever. So lift the back of your skull right there and keep lifting as you breathe through your nose. And you're going to feel the SCM muscle lift the sternum. That is the fastest posture hack that I can give people. You want your breath to accessorize with the sternocleidomastoid, not to dominate with it, but to accessorize. And the only reason it won't is if your chest is aiming down, because then your head is here. You have to take your head, pull it up so that it leverages the rest of the body with it.
Perfect. Well, we have our tip. Very nice. Well, Eric, thank you very much. This has been really nice discussion. I learned a lot, and it was very nice actually to connect and to share as well.
Thank you. I'm in a much better mood than I started, so I appreciate it.
I love that. That's excellent. Great. Well, everybody who has been listening, thank you for being with us till the end. We had Dr. Eric Goodman, the founder of Foundation Training, with us today. Eric, thank you again. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much. I'll say again for everyone that this is Healing with Coherence Podcast. This is the 8th episode. We are on all major podcast platforms. We are on YouTube as well. And if you are watching right now, please subscribe and follow us. And if you like that episode, please share it as well so that your friends and your network can listen to that as well, because I think there are quite a few things which other people can learn from as well, from what Eric shared with us today. And go check Foundation Training, because I also believe that's something fantastic which can be very helpful for managing all the problems that we have from the city environment we live in. Eric, thanks a lot. Have a nice day, and I'll see you again soon. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.